Yeah, it's your boy Chilla here. Welcome back to Pantrio. In the last video, we set up this very basic little UI here. I'm not gonna lie, it looks like shart, but you know what they say. It may be a shart, but it's a start. I don't think they say that, but I'm gonna say it from now on. So, what are we doing today? Well, we have this interface here, but it's just a dumb interface with some data that's been preloaded. We want to get to the point where we have our front end getting data from the back end. So we're going to need to figure out how we can implement communication between our front end and our back end. That's what we're doing today. It's a big step. We might run into some, roadblocks along the way, but I'm sure we'll bust through them. If you ever experience a little bit of resistance, just gotta mash it in. Just mash it right in there. So, REST API. What does REST stand for? I honestly don't remember. Let's see what REST API. RESTful API. Representational state transfer. Yeah, that's what it stands for. What does it mean? Well, it means we're gonna make HTTP requests. And although REST doesn't specifically mean you have to use JSON. Typically, these days, we use JSON. So we're going to send JSON data in a request, and we're going to get JSON data back from a response, and it's going to be a good time. So how do we make HTTP requests from our Vue? We use something called Axios, and we could import it via npm as a module and use it like that. We could import it here. But Nuxt has a very nice Nuxt module that you can include, and it will set up Axios, and it will kind of put it inside of your Vue instance and do some other cool things. Yeah, it's good. So how do we do that? Well, Nuxt Axios. The Axios module for Nuxt. Setup. npm install Nuxt.js Axios copy. Copy that. Let's get out of this. Can I paste? I can paste. npm install Nuxt.js Axios. And then add it to modules. Okay. Can I just copy this? I don't like the color on this. I almost said color in Japanese for some reason. But anyways. I don't like the color on it. This makes it very difficult to understand what I've got selected. Anyways, nobody cares about that. Put it in here. Why don't we put it in build modules? I don't know. Like I said before, I'm not 100% super duper clear on, the difference between build modules and modules. It doesn't matter, does it? It probably has something to do with server-side rendering, stuff like that. So if we're not doing server-side rendering, I could just put it in here. It wouldn't matter. But I'm going to do what the example says, because whenever I do something that the example doesn't say, it usually comes to bite me in the ass. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Now we can use Axios in your Nuxt app. Congratulations. Sparkle, sparkle. Okay. So using Axios in our Nuxt app. We don't want this. That was just my example. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, what do I want to do here? Well, we want to make a test. Let's make a test. So there are functions defined for Vue called lifestyle hooks. And you kind of use them in place of things like you would normally have like a constructor and a destructor. But you don't have those. You have lifestyle hooks. So, what is one lifestyle hook we have? One we have is called mounted. Mounted? It said $mount, but I don't think that's what it is. Let me see here. We're going to do a lot of Googling today. This video might be a little long. You know what I'm saying? Next. Life cycle. Did I say lifestyle? Your lifestyle becomes your death style. Think about it. Life cycle hooks. Next Vue lifecycle hooks. Sure. I mean, we could just look for view lifecycle. So there's lots of hooks. Some of them come in from Nuxt. We won't be looking at those. They mostly have to do with, again, server-side rendering or pre-rendering. Created. Mounted. We could try created. So created is when this thing is, when the actual component is created, strangely enough. Mounted is when it's actually, you know, put into the DOM display of the page, I guess. When things start up, created will be called. That's good enough for us to know right now. So what we want to do is we want to get, let's just try, we're going to do, so we're going to make this async. Async, one in the async, and we're going to do const data is equal to, so here's what you do. You go await, you go this dot x, okay, one second, we're gonna get there. So we did not see Axios in our list of auto completion, and you know me, I love me some auto completion, so we gotta take care of this. Migration guides, usage, here we go, TypeScript. So we want to add Nuxt.js Axios into that bad boy. We want TypeScript to be aware of these types. So where is our tsconfig? And we have our types, and we have Nuxt.js Axios. Save that. Now, let's try this again. This dot there, Axios, and it is in there. And if we press dot again, we get a whole list of the things. So here's the thing. Axios is an asynchronous library, which means when you call something like get, you don't get it doesn't block and give you the response right away. It starts the operation, and it returns you a promise, and you can use that promise to get the result after it is available. What await does is it allows you to wait on that response and to get it out automatically without having to do a whole bunch of other bullshit, which we like. Now, so here's the thing. Normally Axios has functions like get and, you know, delete and post, but there are special ones for the Nuxt module that start with a $, and those basically give you the information that you want right away. So for example, does it even explain in here? Please explain what the $sign does. Am I going crazy? There's nowhere in this documentation where it actually explains why you would want to use the $sign variants of the thing. You crappy documentation. Okay, so Nuxt Axios $sign get why. All right, so if you call get, you get a response object, which includes the data of the response and a lot of other information like headers and other bullshit. But if we just want the data, we can use this $sign. We get the data right away, and it's just cleaner. You know what I'm saying? It's just cleaner. So we're going to do Axios get, and we're just going to get from https google.com. We'll try that. I don't know if it'll work. So data should now contain just the HTML of that page. So let's do console.log data. All right. So when this thing is created, it's going to make this request. It's going to log the response out to the console. We should be able to see it, and everything will be perfect. Let's try it. So we're going to look into our console. Oh, okay. So there's probably, it would probably help if we actually ran the dev server. Let's try again. Okay, we open it up. Okay, there's a network error. Wait, same origin policy disallows reading remote resource. Okay, so there are things in, the HTTP specification, in the way browsers are made, where they can basically allow control of who has access to resources. So, for example, an application that was downloaded via the browser from domain A can be, blocked from requesting resources from domain B or whatever. And that's good. It gives you control over the resources of your website. So, for example, people can't, use your images, post links to your images on their website and steal your bandwidth, which is one example, I guess. But I'm just wondering now, because I'm not an expert on this, but I've dealt with it certainly in the past. So the way that we would get around this is, we'd have to have access to Google's servers so that we can make them emit a specific header that would permit code from our origin to access code from their web server. Now, we don't have control over Google's servers, unfortunately. So we're not going to run this test. Instead, we're going to try to do a get from our own server. So how does that happen? Well, first of all, we should create the route in our laravel. So Pantrio app HTTP controllers. All right, this is just a test. So we're going to organize things a lot better. But for this simple test here, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to do public function get test data. All right. And we're just going to return an array here. And when you return an array like this, Laravel will automatically turn it into basically a JSON response that works very nicely with a REST API. So that's just handled automatically. But we're going to do message hello number 69. There you go. There is going to be our response, get test data. Now, web.php holds our routes for, normally when your browser accesses, a web page. API holds your routes for, when programmatic access happens from, like, let's say something like a Vue application, or another service is accessing your service via API. So what we're going to do is we're not going to put any kind of authorization. It's not going to be locked down by any kind of authentication. So we're just going to do /test. And yeah, that is going to go to controller at, I've already forgotten the name of the thing. It was get test data. All right. Get test data. There you go. So when we access this, that should execute this. That should return JSON information that corresponds to this. And that's it. Sort of. We'll see in a second. So now in our next side, not here, in our next side, that's here, we want to get HTTP, because we haven't enabled the SSL. We'll do that eventually for our website. HTTP, what is it? Pantrio /test. So we get this, that should get our data, then we're going to log the data. All right, nothing could possibly go wrong. We get a network error again. Let's take a look at it. Right. Same origin policy disallows reading this one. Well, you might be saying, Chili, I don't understand. It's the same origin, right? This is being served on the domain Pantrio, and the place we're making the request to is Pantrio. What's the problem? Well, the origin is actually, it's not just the domain name, it's also the port, and I believe the schema, whereas HTTP or HTTPS. So all that stuff has to match, and if they don't match, then you have to have a CORS policy that enables the sharing of those resources. So how do we do? Well, luckily, Laravel has got your back on this one as well. There's a nice stuff that's integrated into the framework off the fly that allows you to configure your cores. And it's pretty cool. It's the silver bullet. Cores Lite. Where's our thing? Where's our cores? Here it is. Cores.php. It's under config. So, allowed origins star. Allowed methods star. So how I believe this works is that anything under API and this route here, this specific route here, are allowed. Any methods from any origins are going to be allowed there. We just need to add our thing in here. So let's just put, we'll figure it out later on, but let's just put test like that. Sure, that seems all right. So what if we do this? Request failed with status 404. All right. So now, because of our cores here, it's okay. It says test is an okay route. However, when it actually tries to process the request, it says that route doesn't exist. And you might be saying, chili, but it does exist. It's right here. Well, no, because here's the thing. Where are my providers? App, providers, route service provider. So here's where it defines the routes. We have two routes. We have the API route, and we have the web route. So web route gets web middleware. Namespace is this namespace here, the controllers, and group. Basically, the place where it gets the information for the routes is in this file here. API comes from this file here, has a middleware API, but it also has a prefix here. And this prefix says that all the routes in this are actually, they start with API. So when I defined test, the actual route is API/test. So what I should do, what I'm going to do, if I can find the file, I'm kind of lost here. Give me a second. Here we go. So we don't need this test here because we are already... Goddamn doorbell. God damn it. Anyways, what was I saying here? Okay, so we don't need this because we already have API. Everything under API is all good. So we can get rid of this. So what do we need to change? Well, think about it. Think about it while I try to find the freaking file. Here it is, index.vue. Yeah, so this is actually API/test because of that prefix. So if we do this, it should pass cores and it should find the route. And just please work. And it worked. So let's take a look here. Yeah, so this was our, yeah, here it is. Hello 69. So this is what we logged onto the console. And there you have it, Bob. Bob is your uncle. It's not that hard. You just gotta know that this, well, first of all, you gotta know what cores is. Otherwise you're gonna, there's error messages. It was like everything. When I started this out, I didn't know what cores was. You know what I did? Well, I got the error. I Googled the error message and I learned some shit, and that's all you gotta do. People are like, how do you learn all this stuff, Chili? You just freaking look it up. I mean, the information is out there. Whenever you see an error message, if you just kind of like roll over on your back and just be like, I'm dead, then yeah, you're not gonna get anything accomplished. But if that's your mentality, then you have no place in development. Please Google your error messages. That's step number one, always. And if you do that, you figure out the cores. For the API thing, well, that one, I mean, again, you can Google it and it'll take a little bit more finesse, but you'll eventually come to it. Or, with enough experience, you'll just know. Oh, yeah, by default, things in the API thing here, yeah, they have this prefix attached to them automatically. But anyways, so, well, basically what I'm going to do for some fun here is we're going to take this information, we're going to put it on the server side. And there's a couple of ways I could do this. I could be lazy or I could be not lazy. And I'm thinking right now, I'm strongly on the side of lazy, but I'll probably not be lazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to return. We are going to return this data as a PHP associative array, which will get converted to JSON. And then on the next side, here it is. I'm just going to close this because I keep gravitating towards it. On the next side, instead of hard coding this into here, it's going to get the data from the server when it first loads up with the created hook here. So, one second, I'll be back. All right, so here's our data converted into a format that PHP knows and loves. And so this is going to be returned. Now, on our view side, we can get rid of this. Sections will just be an array. And in created, we're going to say, yeah, this dot sections is equal to this. And we're not going to log it. Like so. Okay. Now, when we get created, it should load that, and when loading is done, it should appear on the screen. Probably. We'll see. So refresh. And there it is. So this data now is coming from our server. So if I were to change human head of lettuce to 1000 in our server, human head of lettuce quantity 1000. And then on our client, let's refresh and let's look in the freezer. And yes, we have 1000 human heads of lettuce. Beautiful. So that is the very basics of it. Things to remember. This get here gives you the data directly. If we were to not, let me show you what happens if we don't put this $sign in here. So we'll do const response is equal to get. So now if we do res dot, you see here we have data, but we also have headers, request, status, so the status code, the status text, configuration that was used to make the request. So all this stuff in here. So to get at the data, then we'd have to do, resource.data. But normally you just want the data. So you put the $sign in here, you get the data automatically. I don't know if there's any other benefit to using this, but this alone makes it decent for me. Anyways, we don't want const data. We want this dot sections. There you go. So yeah, there's that. And obviously cores. I'm going to want to remember what cores is. This configuration was actually good the way it was. We just had to get the right path in here. But if we wanted to change this path to something outside of API, we'd probably have to put that in our cores. And we'll be visiting this again because there are things that that we'll have to modify when we want to have credentials, when we want to authenticate. And we will have to add authentication in. We will want our app, we will want people to be why can't I speak today? We will want people to be required to log in with a password before they can, access information, because this will be on the wide world web, and we need to protect that stuff. You don't want to log in and you look in your freezer and you see like 100 bags of dicks in there and you're like, what? Who put these bags of dicks in my freezer? You know what I'm saying? I mean, unless you had them in there, like they were actually, that's something that you registered, in which case, I have questions, but I guess that's okay. But that's about it for this video, I believe. You look in here, you see we're storing our data, information about, our comestibles in the member data of this component. But we're going to have different components. They're going to have different pages and views, like a search view. And they're all going to want to access the same data. So we'd want to lift this up out of any specific component. And the general way you do that is with the Vue state managed library called Vuex. So in the next video, I think we're going to get Vuex up in here. And that is going to be one step closer to implementing the first, actual functionality of our proof of concept here. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click the like button, helps a lot. And I will see you soon with some more Pantrio.